Hey guys, so I know I haven't posted a video in 3 weeks, and I feel like I should post a vlog entry so that you guys understand why, and maybe some of you can relate to some of the content of this particular video, and believe me, I am working on more art content and more vlog entry content, but I kind of wanted to bring you guys up to speed on what's been going on. So the last video I posted was a little bit about 3 weeks ago, and it was the Lion King update. Now that Lion King update, that's a 20 by 22 acrylic painting, and what I was working on was the fine detail, which may or may not have been perceivably captured on camera. It's really hard for me to say I know what I was working on, but that's not to say that anybody really cared because only 9 people watched it, or it was only viewed 9 times. And no one really commented on it. When it got really low views and no one's commenting on it, I started to have an internal debate about where I should focus the next video on, and that's generally the way I go with. If the vlog entries do real well, I'll do another vlog entry. If the instruction videos do better, then I'll do the instruction videos. So while I was having that raging debate, if you watched the vlog entry with the antelope, you will know that my dad has moved out of the house that I grew up in as a kid, and everything in the house is pretty much going. You know, the original plan was for my dad to move out with whatever he wanted. Us girls were going to go through, take whatever we wanted, and then we were going to have it go to an auction house, auction off the rest, then maybe have a rummage sale. That was the big plan. Dad moves out, we have painters come in, carpenters come in, you know, break everything down so it's not Revenge of Wallpaper from 1979. And, excuse me, and then replace the carpeting, and then have the auction house come in and do an estimate on the goods that were in the house. Now, keep in mind, this is a 4-bedroom, 2-story, 2.5 bath house with a full basement. There was a lot of stuff in that house. Notice it was because it's not there anymore. So when the auction house came in and they walked through the house, I don't know how much of the house that they went through, and neither one of my sisters nor my dad gave me a rundown of what happened after the auction house went through, when the auction house said, I have no use and I cannot sell anything in this house, you'd be better off having a rummage sale. Which is to say that he couldn't get premium dollar for 30-year-old furniture. Okay, I get that. I kind of had a little chuckle in my head because I think my sisters saw dollar signs, and there really wasn't any dollar signs to be had. Well, this is the house that I grew up in. That has been my little home base. No matter how much I fight with my family, that's been kind of my home base for 38 years. It's always been the place I can go. I know every nook and cranny in that house. I knew where every piece of furniture was, every possible conceivable arrangement of the furniture. And my parents never bought new furniture, okay? My parents, my dad was an architect and a iron worker, and he helped design this house. He had it custom built. He came up to a shop that existed at the time. It was called the Cowell Peg Shop. He had all of the furniture in this house custom made for that house. So when we're talking about I have an apartment, I can't take all of this furniture. I can't even really take any of the furniture because I don't have the room. I mean, you see the studio, the rest of the house is still as crowded. But we thought that at least we could get rid of some, like the desks and the dressers, but when the auction house went through and said we can't really resell this, my dad and my sisters made the executive decision to just rent 2 20-yard dumpsters and fill them with the contents of the house. I was never called on that. I was never consulted with that. It was just a decision that was made. My dad told me about 3 weeks ago, shortly after that Lion King update, that they had made a decision. They had just gone through. They had got a couple of 20-yard dumpsters, and everything was in the dumpsters. And I replied with, you couldn't have like a rummage sale? And my dad and I fought about it for a while, because to me that seems like an incredible waste of resources. And I'm not entirely sure that either my sisters or my dad understand that I live in Sheboygan, and the income average is much lower in Sheboygan than it is in Ozaukee County, which is one of the richest counties in the state, and that I work with some very underprivileged people. There are people that struggle to feed themselves paycheck to paycheck. Paychecks really seriously aren't enough. For those that actually earn the hours, I have no problem giving them and justifying overtime to give them enough money to put food on their table. These are hard-working people. And when I have all of these resources that come in, and I can't share those resources rather than having them go into a landfill, it hurt, and it hurt bad. And I had some trouble looking my coworkers in the face. I really did, because it felt like I betrayed them. And somebody did come up and say, you didn't know about it, your heart was in the right place, and if you knew that was going to happen, you would have brought a ton of us down, we would have picked stuff out, we would have gone in on a U-Haul and brought it back to town and dropped it off at everybody's house. And they had my back. I didn't know anything about it. And that kind of lifted the kind of self-blame. But it seems like a ginormous waste of resources. And I don't know if maybe that's the way rich people think, is that, oh, fuck it, nobody else needs it. You know, I don't need it, so nobody else needs it, it's just going to go in the trash. And that is literally the words that came out of my dad's mouth. Having a rummage sale is a waste of time, nobody needs 20-year-old furniture. I promise you I have at least 5 people that would have taken all of it in a heartbeat. But I was overruled, I was cut out of the decision. And I've been kind of coping with that, which doesn't sound like a big deal. My parents never bought new furniture, so this is like the core furniture. And I get it, 80s furniture was pretty gnarly, especially when you had it custom made for colonial style. So take 80s fabrics, mix it with colonial style, you have heavy burlap printed furniture. But I couldn't take it. It's not going to fit in my house. It doesn't even go with the style that I have in my house. But it didn't have to get thrown out. It just chucked. And it has also kind of hit me at the same time that I'm kind of reliving when my mom died, who was a very staunch supporter of my art. And anytime when I was kind of feeling self-doubt, I could go to her. And I could almost guarantee that I would walk away from the conversation not feeling the same way, not feeling like a failure even if I did, and kind of re-lit and re-fired up about wanting to do my art. And with her gone, that really core spot in my life has been missing. So the very real, concrete, physical reality kind of hit home. That everything was gone. My opinion on the matter didn't matter. The fact that I could have repurposed probably 90% of it didn't matter. showed to me how very selfish some people could be. And to feel like if I had been more in on that, I could have helped out people who really needed it, really made me feel like a jerk. If when I went home, or when I went back to the house, and I was the only one there, if before I left I looked at Monique or Kayla or Libby and said, hey, they're talking about putting everything in an auction house, do you need anything? I will pick it up and put it in my car and bring it back. And we always talked about it, we laughed about it, and we never really had that really serious discussion. And then I come to my dad's, who called me over. Effectively, my bank got bought out, so I was down there over banking issues. And it kind of got brought up off the cuff, because I said, oh, I'll go over to the house, I want to pick up some lawn chairs, because Kelly was saying that she has no place on her patio to sit out, so if you guys haven't moved anything around, I'm going to grab a couple lawn chairs from the attic. And my dad looked at me and went, why? Everything's in a 20-yard dumpster. Didn't you know? Yeah, it's all gone. I called for them to pick it up this morning. They're probably gone. Don't give me that look. It's not like you didn't, it's not like you were cut out of the conversation. Yeah, Dad, actually I was. I was completely and totally cut out of that conversation. So it felt like I really could have just disappeared and it wouldn't have mattered. My opinion, my presence in the matter didn't matter. And it was hard to not take that personally. One of the regulars saw the pictures of the dumpsters. By that time it had rained, so whatever was in the dumpsters wasn't salvageable because it all had water damage. And he said, when I think of all the stuff that you've been through and your little quirks that you have, I can say all the negative things that you have going on in your life has stemmed from your family, and this is a prime example of it. And he said, don't you dare blame yourself for this going down. You had no knowledge of it, and I know you're going to do it. You're going to feel guilty about it. And I kind of expected that I did, and I felt a little bad that I couldn't have done more for my coworkers and my friends. But it was, and so I couldn't hang myself on the hook. But again, the concrete thing of, that was literally my childhood in a dumpster. And that's how much my family valued their past. If it was just furniture, it wouldn't have mattered. But there were family heirlooms in there too. Like my mother's wedding dress was in the dumpster. My dad used to play softball. His softball uniform from, I have no idea when, that was in the dumpster. Stuff that when my mom passed away and we gave all of her sewing stuff to a non-profit called Camel Quilts, which makes quilts for soldiers and retired veterans, came and said, if you ever get rid of your mom's stuff, any more of this other stuff that you haven't decided, let us know and we will come and pick it up. Not a problem. That is really cool and we like it. That was in the dumpster already, and some of it was busted. Not along with water damage, it was busted. So it was almost like this was a vicious purging, if you will. So I was already on kind of this downward kind of spiral. I didn't know where I wanted to go with this channel, what the next video should be. Then I got waylaid with this and was really not feeling very good about it. And then I started getting sick. So I got sick for the last 2.5 weeks. I literally only started to get my voice back in the last 2 days. But in those last couple of weeks, I've had time, and a lot of it, to think about why I'm doing all of this. Why did I create a YouTube channel? Why did I bother trying to think that I could prove myself as an artist to my sisters? What was the point of me having to validate myself to my family, who clearly doesn't value me because they didn't even involve me in some of these major family conversations or discussions? And in that downward spiral, I really started to question things of who would value my art if I died? Who would bother watching this, anything I had to say, and value the knowledge that I have? And if nobody values what I have to physically give and nobody values my thoughts, then really nobody values me as a person, and that's about the lowest on the shit heap of feeling your own unvaluedness that you can do to yourself. And the minute I thought, well, if there's no point in me making art because I don't have a buyer, because I'd have to rebuild my client base from scratch. Nobody really watches the channel, so there's no value of the knowledge that I have to do with in art. And do I really want that to be my legacy? Great, you know how to draw. Well, it's great. I know all the technical aspects, but I don't want to do it because I'm moping around thinking about all this other stuff. And if maybe that's all I am, then maybe I have nothing to give to the world other than running a restaurant. And that was a nasty spiral. Yeah, I've got some techniques that I did that I want to share with you guys. Okay, because when you're out to sell your art and when you're out to share what knowledge you do have, and you combine those two together, and you can't get an audience and you can't get buyers, and you start to ask yourself why you're doing it. Why are you putting in the effort? And that's exactly where I was. So I picked up a couple hobbies, or habits. Picked up a couple habits to kind of help me get over that hump. And one of them is I will go out. I found a couple of county fairs, and I went out just to look at as dumb as it is, I went out to go find some new chickens. Not that I'm going to own a chicken, but Bantam chickens, they've done like bizarre things that they look like Meryl Streep and Zsa Zsa Gabor and a couple other freaky people. And I thought, well, I'll take some pictures of some chickens. That'll be a challenge. And took a couple pictures of some cows, did a couple county fairs. And it was distracting, but it didn't get me out of my rut. Okay. So I thought, well, I'll do something more cognitive. I'll do a book review. So I went to the library, and I got some books. And I thought, that'll be easy. I'll look through the book, I'll pick it apart, figure out what's useful, what's not, and I'll just do a 15-minute book review. That'll get me out of my rut, and I'm still putting content on the channel. And I thought, well, if nobody watched a 2-minute video on how to paint a lion, then nobody's going to watch or care about a book they could get from the library, because this is like time investment and money investment. So I didn't do the book reviews. Still have the books. So then I started digging around on Facebook, and I thought, well, surely there's somebody that's having trouble with a painting or wants a critique or wants some tips. And I went on I think it's cat art on Facebook, and somebody was having trouble drawing a black and white cat because what they do is more abstract or impressionistic, not really anything in color matching or realism. And they were having trouble kind of discerning how to paint like a black and white cat. So I thought, well, I won't paint a black and white cat, but I'll work on a black wolf and a white wolf. And so this was sitting on my drafting table. We talked about this on the last vlog entry. There's this black paper with the white Jelly Roll pens. And my boss was sitting in the office on the computer because he was having computer problems at home. And I was working on this. And I found out that, well, one of the techniques that I wanted to do, which was mixing the Jelly Roll pens with the color pencils, it doesn't work so well. Jelly Roll pens don't like wax on top of them. So, that pretty well blew up in my face. I mean, if you look at this black wolf, obviously you can tell that it's not just white, but it's real hard to define on why the blue helps it, and I couldn't stay focused on justifying why you would use brown and blue to make black rather than just white and black. So I stopped, clearly, because there's another wolf that's in that drawing. So then I started really getting down on myself again, because now I can't even do a black and white drawing and get through that. Still getting sick. And if you've ever had like a chest infection or like bronchitis, you know how exhausting it is. And I didn't take any days off of work because everybody in the restaurant had it. So instead of taking time off, I kept digging in, which made me sicker. So 3 weeks go by and I had no work done for the Tika show, which is the showdown in Racine. So at day 18, I said I really have to make a decision whether or not I'm going to do this because I have no new material to bring. I don't have any more ornaments. I don't even have a tree to display the ornaments on. It's a $100 investment, and if I call them now, I could tell them to not cash the check, just void the check and toss it out. Yeah, I wasn't getting any healthier, so I wrote the show coordinator canceled the show, which means I went back on the thing that I told the channel that I was going to do, and I told all you guys I was going to do, which was to do a Tika show. And again, that gets back into me second-guessing myself, because it's like I said more than one time on this channel about doing shows, they're a crapshoot. You know, last Tika show, I made out like a bandit, I covered my booth piece, I covered my gas down there and back, and I had enough left over that I could put in for like 2 more shows. That's how well I did. This show might be a completely bomb, and then you start to rationalize it. Well, you gotta fix the brakes on the car, you really should set money aside for this, da 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 da. So we're digging a hole, and we're still digging this hole, and we're still digging this hole. So, usually one of the things I don't do is that I don't look at the algorithms that are on the channel posted for creators within 1 or 2 weeks of posting a video for the channel at all. Because if it takes 48 hours for some of the analytics to, and the viewings to kick in and the subscribers to kick in, but if they don't kind of go the way I'm hoping they're going to go, like The Lion King got 9 views, then I'm like, I just sank like 8 hours of work into this, and nobody even cares to watch it, so why am I bothering? There's so many other things I could do with my time that are less stressful than standing in my computer compressing video to make a video that no one's going to watch. You know, instead of spending $100 to go down to a cat show where nobody's going to buy anything, I could set that money aside and go to San Diego, which is a bucket list vacation for me. So now I'm at the bottom and really looking around, and then gave myself one last really nasty kick. And the really nasty kick is that along with calling myself a whole bunch of nasty names, and if you've ever really been down on yourself as an artist, you do that. You call yourself, in your own little voice in your head, you call yourself nasty names, you make nasty accusations to you, to yourself, and you lie to yourself and you cut yourself down. And the one that really was the point where I'm in this office like almost every day, and I stayed out of this office for like 3 days. Not because I was sick, not because I didn't have anything to do, I wasn't trying to do anything, because I felt like I wasn't worthy of going into my own studio. And it was because the comment I made to myself was that I was a selfish person because I have all of these painting materials, and I have a gorgeous studio and so many resources, and I have friends at work that care for me a lot because I support them back. And I have 200 plus viewers on this channel, and maybe not all of you guys watch all the episodes, maybe some of you guys very rarely watch the episodes, but at least there's 9 people out there that give a shit enough to actually look at a 2-minute video, even if there's no commentary. And I spent about 10 or 20 minutes kicking myself about feeling down when I've got it so good. And I do. So I started kicking myself about not getting back on the horse and not getting back on the drafting table and not finishing the painting and then canceling the Tika show and allowing myself to get sick and allowing my family and my past to get in my head. And then, just to see if I could keep kicking myself, I went and looked at the analytics. And there was something that normally would get me down, but it kind of surprised me. And that was since the last video update, which was that Lion King update, I gained a couple of subscribers with no new content. So 4 of you actually thought without any new content in 3 weeks, I was still a resource that you guys would maybe give 2 shits about. Which is 4 more people than I didn't have. And it's 4 more people that maybe would check in if, like, the world was gonna burn to the ground, you know? And it was those 4 people that one little number that was like, you're not completely worthless. Somebody gives a shit about what you have to say. And somebody values the art you want because you actually got requested to do a tutorial, so stop moping around like nobody cares. Stop moping around like you don't have anything, because you got a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for, and stop thinking about the fact that your family, which should check in with you before making major decisions, didn't. They're the lesser of 2 evils. I mean, like, get rid of the focus. So, this is where I'm going to wrap it up. If you want to kill your drive as an artist, if you want to kill your motivation as an artist, compare yourself to others. Compare your work to other people. Compare your successes to other people. And when you do that, you will probably almost always come up short. You will see that they get an award somewhere that you didn't get, that you didn't see happen. They got a commission that you didn't see happen. They got opportunities, or they've got a bigger viewing audience, or they've got more subscribers, or, you know, somebody will always have more than you. So if you want to find a reason to quit, just compare yourself and your achievements to anybody else in the world. Because you're going to find somebody who's done something more, went someplace more. Don't do that. You know, one of the things that I am guilty of doing is doing that. I am also guilty of not really having a clear goal. I mean, I had a clear goal like a month ago, and I was like, this is where we're going to go. And then I expected things to kind of take off, and they kind of did this, and then they fell over. And some of that was outside the channel, a lot of it was outside of my artwork, some of it was outside of my regular job. It was just family crap. And I let that get in my way. I let it block me. And I shouldn't have let that do that. Let it happen. So, when things get tough, you want to fail, don't give yourself a goal. Don't give yourself some place that you want to get to. You know, don't think, you know, sit there and say, you know, I don't have to finish this painting. It doesn't really matter, you know. Yeah, and guess what? You'll never finish the frickin' painting. Don't finish the drawing. Nobody's going to care either way. These are the voices that artists have in their head. This is the reason why artists procrastinate. Because at some point they feel like nobody cares. They have nothing to contribute. There is no value to them doing it. Go ahead and, you know, debate with me. That's a good chunk of reason why artists quit. They don't feel like they have anything to contribute. They're not good at it. And there's no value in anything they would have to contribute. Nothing in their knowledge, nothing in their experience, nothing in their person that they can contribute that anybody would value. Another one would be not having a support structure. Earlier in the video, if you're skipping to the end here, you would have saw that when I was talking about my mom, I got a little emotional. I got a lot emotional, I'm not gonna lie. But when you don't have a strong support structure behind you, it's really easy to get stuck in a downward spiral of self-pity. I don't have this. I don't have that. I hit a downward spiral because my family lacked my opinions or anything I had to bring to the table, and so therefore I applied that to everything in my life. Especially my art, which my family has always cut down on me on it being a waste of time, and just they didn't have anything positive to say about it. What astonishes me about that is that my sister is a K-12 art teacher. So for her to look at me and say, you're wasting your time doing art, that hurts. And it's strangely contradictory. If you don't believe that art has any value and yet you teach art, that then becomes a personal cut on me. So another one would be questioning your priorities, which in the last 3 weeks I've been guilty of. With no clear direction. Did I want to do shows? Yes, I did. Did I want to put more videos on the channel? Yes, I did. But at the same time in my head, I'm thinking immediate gratification. And I've gotten into that habit where as soon as I do something, there's something else that's going to happen, because that at work is the way things go. You work in fast food, everything is bam, 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 and it's second by second, and you get a kickback and you're done and you move on. Running a YouTube channel, doing art as a business, and kind of doing this on my own means that I have to be patient with the kickback. And I oftentimes forget that the kickback doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't happen in 24 hours. And sometimes as artists, we forget that. You make a piece of artwork and you think, this is the greatest thing I'm ever going to do. And then you show it to your friends and they're like, eh. Or maybe you show it to your family and they're like, why are you wasting your time? Because that's what my family does. And then you kind of question about whether or not you are wasting your time. You know, and in the downward spiral where I was questioning my priorities, I have enough previous experience where at some point I was registering my business as a business with the IRS. And 5 years in a row, I take that back, 4 years, I had a loss. And the last one I had a profit on of like $2. $2. And the general numbers, because I was somewhere in the ballpark of somewhere around $2,500 to $4,000 a year of income and loss, that $4,000 becomes one of those bucket list vacations and one of those bucket list trips that I really want to take. Now this past spring, I went to Disney World, which has been a bucket list vacation since I was like a teenager. Ever since they opened up Hollywood Studios, I wanted to go to Hollywood Studios. I didn't actually think I was going to enjoy Epcot, and I thought it was a blast. I've gone to Universal Studios. I thought it was going to be a blast again. It was okay, but I had a lot of fun. And for 10 whole days, I didn't worry about the content on the channel. I didn't worry about my artwork. I didn't worry about the kids. I didn't worry about work. I just relaxed. And I didn't have to feel like I had to beat myself up because I wasn't doing anything. I legitimately just went and I breathed and it was okay. And I find myself holding my breath a lot in between activities in my life. I have to go to work. Gotta get ready for work. Come home. Gotta eat dinner. Get done eating dinner. Gotta work on a video. Nope, I have to make content for the video, then I gotta make the video. And so I'm holding my breath a lot, and so for the first time in like a couple years, I took a trick I really wanted to do, and for 10 whole days, I just relaxed. I kicked it around at my own pace and did whatever I wanted, and at a fairly high budget because I'd saved up a lot of time. I'd been saving up for years on that vacation. I really want to do another one. So then I find myself in conflict about $100 for a cat show. You're probably not going to make that back. That $100 could go to a flight somewhere else. and then you can go to this place, you can go to this place. And there's that voice in my head that's justifying and rationalizing not spending more money on my art. If you think that's bad, it's very hard for me to go into like a Michael's, a Joann Fabrics, a Hobby Lobby, a Dick's Art Supply, and not buy anything. It's like really hard. Because I want to try the new things. I have a whole closet full of pads of paper. That should say something. But for 3 straight weeks, I went into every hobby, craft, art supply store. I couldn't find anything I even wanted to buy. I was even interested in buying. Halloween decorations are out, and I didn't want to buy those. So I was like, I'm really depressed. Halloween, I'm not even looking forward to fall. So if you're starting to question your priorities, you got to come back to that baby step thing. Did I cancel the Tika show? Yes, I did. Was it a wise decision? I apologize for everybody who was looking for content for that show, and I probably will try really hard because I already have that time requested off from work. I probably will still attend the show as maybe a visitor. So if you guys are looking for different breed pictures or like comparing breeds, you want me to ask questions of the breeders, hey, post them in the comments below. I will be happy to go down to that Tika show and shoot pictures and film content if you guys are actually interested in the not vending art part of doing a cat show, because that can be interesting. But there was not a whole lot of me willing to vend it and probably lose the $200 in vending cost, travel time, and hotel, because I really wouldn't be relaxing at all. I'd be stressing out. Another thing that artists do, or business people do, a lot of people do this, is they don't let themselves experience emotions or personal losses or gains or celebrations because they have the next thing to do. Got to move on. Can't wait on this. And I did that with the concrete reality of my dad selling the house and all the furniture gone. When I walked in the house that I've walked into for 38 years, and that house had nothing, and I do mean nothing, in it. There wasn't a stick of furniture, there wasn't a curtain, there wasn't a curtain rod, nothing, there wasn't carpet that wasn't installed by a carpenter. Every room was bare sticks in ways I had never in my life seen it, and that hit me hard enough that when I hit the dining room and looked where I expected to see a custom-made 10-foot round table that sits 10, and it wasn't there, I screamed, I hit my knees, and I wailed. And I walked through the house. I was kind of like a zombie. I was really upset. I took pictures, and I walked out, and I have not been back since. And chances are I won't ever be going back. And I've been kind of bottling that and rationalizing it that there's no reason for it. But I've not been letting myself grieve for that very concrete loss. And for me, who had that for a very, like, the vast majority of my life, that has been there. To lose that is a really huge loss for me. But I failed to let myself emotionally process that. And I will say this, if as artists, you process your emotions through working in your art, then do that. But don't rationalize cutting off your own emotions and emotionally processing events in your life just to get artwork done. I can go through all of the technical mechanics in doing my art, but literally there has been, in the last 3 weeks, no passion to do it. I haven't been able to rationalize getting a passion to do it. And so I haven't been doing it. And forcing myself to do it has literally just made me feel sour and dirty, and that's not the way I want to feel about it. I want to make it should always be fresh. I should always want to do it. And it hasn't been there, and it's because I didn't, until a couple of days ago, allow myself to grieve the loss of my past. So give yourself breathing room to genuinely go through that loss if it's a loss, or celebrate if that's what you're doing. And forgive yourself for however much time that takes you. Some days I can talk about my mom as if she's still here. We were making a joke at work. Both me and my boss have lost our moms, and we got into a tit for tat, which turned into one of those your mama jokes. And I whipped out a your mama joke on him, and he got upset. He literally, and his mom has been gone longer than my mom has been gone. My mom's been gone for about 4 years. His mom died when he was 18, and he's in his 30s. But it's so fresh with him. And that's such a raw nerve with him that he stormed off the floor and literally left the restaurant. And I apologized for it, but I said, you could have come around with a better comeback. And he said, oh yeah, what? And I said, yeah, you could have come back with, yeah, well, your mom is so stubborn, she died, and she's still at the house. And your dad's trying to sell it. Or something to that effect. He laughed about it, but he just asked me nicely to just not make the your mama jokes. And we kind of laughed at it. And I still think, kind of getting a good jab once or twice at my mom, just in good fun, because she was really stubborn. It kind of makes me laugh, but there's still points where I get emotional and I cry and I feel it. And having the house physically being on the market, having all the furniture physically gone, and never being able to get it back, it's almost like reopening that wound. Do I have to still lose my father yet? Yes, he's in his 80s, he hasn't passed away. That's still coming up the road. There will probably be a huge lapse in this channel when that happens again, because there's going to be that whole rigmarole that has to go on. But I'm trying to get past what I'm going through right now. Another set of problems that I hit is, even if I could rationalize, and it goes back to that Tika show. And this was a fight I literally had with myself all day for 7 days at least before I canceled the Tika show. And it has to do with the concrete thing of not making a profit and focusing on the money and the business aspect of it. And then thinking about how long it took me to build up a client base and build up a reputation. And that took years. It didn't happen overnight. It's kind of like this channel. And I have to remind myself that things take time, and I have to forgive myself and forgive the rest of the world for not being instantaneously gratifying. And that's something that sometimes artists forget, is that Rome wasn't built in a day, your artwork wasn't created in 15 minutes, no matter if you make a 15-minute video or not, you probably didn't make it in 15 minutes, and your client base and your audience aren't going to magically fall out of the sky one day. You're not going to have 1 million views and 1,000 subscribers. And the thought of all of the shows that I did throughout the years, even after my mother-in-law died and I wasn't co-vending with her, there was still like 6 to 8 shows a year that I would have to pack all of my crap up into, get it out in the car, drive to a show, settle down, pick up, come back, and maybe with a loss. And with all of the rest of the crap that was going on, I was like, why would I put myself through that again? What was the benefit? What do I have to bring to the table now that would garnish me being able to justify doing it again? Because going to some of these shows is 8 hours of just sitting there twiddling your thumbs and watching people walk in and out of your booth, or just walk by your booth, or come into your booth and insult you. And I was just like, I can't deal with that right now. I can't emotionally, mentally justify putting myself through that when I'm already going through all of this other stuff in my life. And I was like, I can't, I'm not showing. I can't. I would probably up and actually quit. And I wouldn't just quit a little bit. I would probably quit a lot. I would probably find reasons to tear the studio down, give all of this art supplies to the SVA or some nonprofit charity, and then never post on this channel again. And I was like, well, there's the be-all and end-all of just offing your own artwork. And I thought, well, this is just, it's got to stop. And it comes from years of trying to get over the hump of expenses versus profit. I've been doing that for years and justifying the expense versus the profit and saying that was it. This is why we're running a business. And that's how artists as business people have to think. You have to validate your expenses with some kind of profit. And when I couldn't justify a profit coming in, I couldn't justify putting myself through the emotional potential rejection of going to a cat show and sitting there for 16 hours and then not having anything to show for it. Probably not having good content, not having anything sold, didn't have enough time to make any artwork, so there wasn't any content to bring here. So I had nothing to offer for that, so I was like, nope, I just can't. So it does come down to ways that you can, things that can drag you down as an artist. Because a lot of this is just the muck and mire that gets artists to give up. It gets artists to quit. And the reason I'm making this video rather than just posting another video and bottling it is because I'm betting there's an awful lot of artists out there that get through this. And they can't figure out a way to justify it and get back up on the horse and get back to work and get back in the studio. And it's more than artist block. It's more than I don't know what to do. It's that whole core foundation of why are you doing it? Why are you validating spending all this time on this work when nobody wants it? And that's a really hard thing for an artist, whether or not you're a writer or you're a baker or you do 2D or 3D art. It's really hard for somebody to get past that. So I guess my advice in dealing with that is maybe as you're going along and you're having those really good days, kind of like how there was a suggestion on there's always a suggestion around the beginning of the new year of a jar, and then you should put things you're thankful for, and you put them in the jar, and then at the end of the year you have all these reasons that you had a good year. And even if you're feeling bad, you have a really good year because you have all these things you're saying thankful for. Maybe writing down same concept. So get a jar, you'll cut a hole in the lid, and then write down things that you really enjoy about your art. Not the things that frustrate you, but like, is it buying new art material, and experimenting with new art material? Is it reading new techniques? Okay, none of these techniques are new, but is it just creating, the actual thing of creating? Is it the more technical aspect where you can explain how to do it? I can go through the mechanics, but after a while it gets really boring. What part of creating and dreaming up artwork or putting the hours upon hours into the artwork, what part of that do you really enjoy? What part of that really lights you up? I mean, when I was still taking commissions, one of the things that I really loved the most was when I would talk to my clients and they would literally like pour their hearts out over their pets, and you could see how much pain, if it was a client that lost their pet, you can just see how that raw nerve is. And the big driver for doing pet commissions was being able to almost see that nerve like a surgeon and then fix it. And we're not talking cut it out, make it go away. You're talking about literally taking that person and making them stop hurting and being able to look at it and go, I'm grateful that I had this opportunity. And then they can grow from there. I have a coworker who has a very big problem with depression. In fact, I have a few coworkers that have problems with not only depression, but have suicidal tendencies, and they're a big cause for concern. And there is that point where you want to help them out and you want to help heal the hurt. In the last month and a half, I've had 2 coworkers who, for reasons outside of work, have tried to take their own lives, and this has also been a reason for me to be distracted, because I've had very great concern for them. And the latest one happened today, and she's been on a downward spiral since Thursday, so that would be 3 days ago. And today she hit rock bottom and she was ready to quit. She threw keys at me. I can't do this, I'm too stupid. And I dragged her in the office and I said, you're going to do these drawers and you're going to do them. That's it. You can get mad at me, you can cuss at me all you want, you can cry and stomp and piss and moan, but you're going to do it. And she's like, I can't. And I said, yes, you can, and you're going to. And this went on for about 40 minutes. 40 minutes later, she comes out of the office. She was convinced she screwed it up. She was confused about the numbers. And I said, let me see what you got. I turned around, I took all the money she had, put it in a big pile, and I said, we're going to count it. And she said, but I just did that. But I can't get the number I have written down. I said, you already have it. You're not thinking clearly. You don't think you can do it. And that's the block right there. You don't think you can do it. And I'm going to prove to you, because you've already done it, that you can do it. I turned around and I counted all that money out right in front of her and looked at her and said, that's your number right there. It's exactly what you counted. Get out of your own head. And she started crying. And it was that moment when she realized she was her own worst enemy. And if you take anything away from this almost hour-long video, that is the thing I need you to take away from this, is that a lot of artists get in their own heads, and when you're feeling down, I promise you, you are your own worst enemy because you needed to talk to somebody. You will justify quitting in every way, shape, and form, from a financial reason to a physical reason to a health reason to an emotional reason. Time constraints. Because I was there, and really all it was I wasn't giving myself time for me. I was trying to make my focus my art and not giving myself time to breathe, because I gotta keep posting videos. If I don't have content, I can't post videos, gotta keep working on the artwork. And it was literally driving me crazy on a scale I didn't think I could hit, but I did. So get out of your own heads. If you're on that downward spiral, get out of your own head. Go out to a museum. Go out with your friends. Go to with your friends who don't go to art museums, and go to an art museum and then ridicule art. Because I promise you, if it's in a museum, the art museum has probably paid a lot of money, or it has been judged by several professionals in order to get into a museum. And those artists are probably not going to be there. That's a really big thing. They're probably not going to be there. So when you're looking at a 6-foot styrofoam statue that doesn't even look like a person, maybe like a 5-year-old drew it, and it's a wall installation, and all you can think is, why? Why did you do this? And your friend is going to look at you and go, I can do better than this. Jiminy crickets, I know a 3-year-old that could do better than this. Guess what? You know you can do better than that. Prove it. Bring your work. Bring your game. Get out of your own head. Give yourself a break. Give yourself breathing room. Forgive yourself for taking a break. Forgive yourself for not knowing what to do next. But then, when you get out of that, come up with the next step. Where are you going next? What's your next 5 minutes? I'm a big fan of The West Wing. In fact, I was quoting Leo McGarry today to my coworker. And This is a really great speech, and I should really put a link in the description below. It has to do with a dude's walking down the street, and he falls in a hole. He's crying up to the street above. He says, "Help me, help me, help me." The doctor walks by. The dude says, "Dude, can you help me?" The doctor writes out a prescription, throws it in a hole. And the priest walks by. He says, "Father, can you help me?" Father says, "Prayer." Keeps on going. He's still stuck in the hole. All of a sudden his friend walked by and he goes, "Hey dude, can you help me?" So his friend jumps in the hole. And his buddy goes, "What are you doing? Now we're both stuck in here." He says, "Yeah, but I've been in this hole before, and I know how to get out." Sometimes you need a support structure. So sometimes you just need to get out of your own head, get out in the world, and get out of the studio. Because I promise you, I am going to finish this. And if you want to review these books, I'll probably film one of those too, because this goes through 5 media on horses. And I still have a painting of the Lion King to do. And I think I might have found a different show to do instead of the Tika show, which might be a little bit more interesting, but I gotta research it first. So if you watch it all the way to the end, good for you. I hope you took away something from it. Stop beating yourself up. You guys can do this. I promise you, you guys can do this. Anything you set your mind to, you can do. But you just gotta believe in yourself, get out of your own head. You'll find a way out of that hole. Till next time.